I've always been into music. I played guitar as a kid until I was about 14 or 15, and then I got into electronic music and started DJing, and then I started making electronic music. At some point, realized that I liked sort of twiddling knobs and pushing buttons, and started working in studios. Yeah, being an assistant engineer at a main studio in New York, getting to work with lots of different mixers and engineers and producers sort of taught me a lot of stuff. The point I went freelance was through working with this band, Australian band, The Church. Basically had to quit the job and sort of take the chance of going freelance. But I was out there for like 4 months, so I've learned a lot out there on that session. But recently I've been sort of co-producing a record with Bill Lawrence, which we started back in January in London. And then Chris Bullock, I've been mixing his records recently, and then also Justin Sten. So yeah, these guys have kept me busy. That's for sure. But again, everybody's like such a great person that it's a pleasure to work with them. Obviously, working with Snarky, it's a big deal because it's such a large setup and a lot of people and great musicians. So figuring this stuff out and being able to sort of record all of these things simultaneously and still have some separation and stuff between instruments and mics. So the sort of mic choice has a lot to do with that. And then positioning of people. It's definitely difficult with everybody just in the same room. But fortunately, there's enough like ISO booths and stuff here. But there has to be a little bit of flexibility on my end to sort of adapt to things as they change and as they come up.
So what all is being cut live at home?
Well, it's changing from song to song, but basically, I mean, the idea is that everything is, and then there's a handful of overdubs, but I mean, generally like the 3 drummers, bass, 3 guitarists, you know, any number of keyboards, so piano, B3, clav, and Rhodes, and then maybe a synth as well. But the keyboard guys will trade off, but there will be at least 4 keyboards happening at any given time. And then the horns in the other room, and violin. Oh, and percussion, yeah, so much. So I usually try to do as much EQing and compression to tape to sort of get the sounds closer to where they're going to be during a mix for a couple of reasons. One, so that I can hear how things change once they're sort of treated, like rather than just sort of recording things in a raw way and then finding out later that something's messed up. This way I can sort of like make sure that everything's cool if I want to EQ it or if I want to compress it. That, and more importantly, the sound that gets to the headphones and to the musicians, having that sound better and be more inspiring than just a mic in front of something. I found that to be really important, so I try to do that on every tracking session. Having a good sounding live room and then also the ability to control it is, I mean, that's the most important thing to me. I'd say it's second to like the musician and the instruments being played is the room that they're in. And then as far as, you know, in the control room, you have to have a pair of speakers that you know and that you can sort of trust. Otherwise, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, the most important thing for me with monitors is having something you get used to. But the reason I sort of started with ADAMs, and I think my first pair was a pair of S3Hs. I sort of heard them at an AS show in New York. And it was actually just sort of the tweeter and the sort of delicateness of the high end that sort of attracted me to the ADAM in the first place. You know, rather than having these really bright sort of spiky sounding speakers, they just felt more gentle, but still like clear. I mean, I use the S3Hs for mixing, so I have a pair that, you know, I know what they sound like. So I'm not sort of having to do any guesswork. So I'm really familiar with that. I've also found they're really good for clients, and clients react really well to them. They also get nice and loud, so when people come in to listen, it's sort of an enjoyable experience without sounding crappy. Last time and this time brought my S3Hs down here because I knew that they could handle sort of loud listening volumes, and that's sort of what I was talking about, like having the clients come back in and listen. You know, most of the guys want to hear everything back loud, so you need to have a speaker that doesn't sort of fold onto those things and is providing like enough low end so you can feel it. You know, it's at that point it's less about like the engineer and more about like the artist being able to sort of enjoy and listen back to what they just did. But yeah, I mean, the S3Hs definitely can sort of handle sort of the higher volumes and stuff. The last several times that I've been to different studios and tracked, I've taken my monitors with me. Again, it's just so I I don't have to guess as much. And I guess at this point I'm just used to the way they feel and think that they sound better than most of the other monitors that are available.